Now that the cameras are set up, you can start tweaking the meshes to line them up with the reference images. And you'll find as you do this that the positions of the camera need to be revised as the actual shape of the mesh changes. You'll need to move around from view to view and just tweak the position of the camera. So it helps to keep on looking at different views and seeing the overall proportions and seeing how it needs to be altered. See, there's quite a slope on the front top of the wooden part of the windmill where the blades rotate past it, and the actual stone part needs to be slightly bigger relative to the top. I'm going to keep these loops about in the right position to make those brick buttresses the top and the lower point of the sloping shelf, and line the front part of the wooden part shuttering. Those edge loops that are now crooked, we can probably reduce the number of edges there completely by merging some of the vertices. Again, having altered the roof, we now go around all the different views and just line the camera up again. To make those buttresses, they're a bit approximate. That put them probably in the wrong place. I think they're more evenly done at the northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest positions rather than where I've put them. But we can probably manage with them like this. So we can look at the reference image and just alter the vertices slightly to make them line up. And these vertices can be moved using G twice to slide them along the edge, and then M to merge by distance. Now, to make the steps at the back, you're going to add a rail for the side, and we could do this the same way as we did with the sails of the windmill, but I'll just create two separate sides to the steps and then a separate object for the treads, and we'll use an array to duplicate that up. There are 16, seem to be 16 actual treads to make it as a separate object. The process of rotating the side rails of the stairs hasn't, it's slightly made them slightly skew if they're not perfectly symmetrical, so there's a slight X drift as well as a Z drift needed. There's a big telegraph pole. It looks like it's used to rotate the windmill. So for that, we'll add a cylinder and reduce the number of vertices, enlarge it before positioning it so we can scale it. using one of the reference images where we can see it quite clearly. We position it, and it looks to come through the steps and go up into the floor beams of the windmill structure. And on the end of it, it looks to have a winch mechanism, a drum with a horizontal bar coming out of it. So we just make a duplicate of the telegraph pole and then scale it down and extrude the narrow part a couple of times. The white handrails look to be fixed to the outside of the edge of the stairs, and there are 4 of them, so scale a cube and duplicate it, and then duplicate it again and lengthen it. Again, because the stairs don't go directly along the y-axis, there's a slight alteration to make it line up. And the tops of each of the posts looks to have a little fillet attached to make it look nice. And the final thing is the 2 doors, so one on the front and one on the back. Again, because the buttresses are not quite in the right place, these are going to be a little bit skew but we'll see how we can correct the UV, alter the UV to line up later when we're doing the cloning of the textures. To get the door planar rather than being part of a distorted cylinder, we changed the top of the screen. You'll see we changed the frame of reference for the XYZ to the normal. So basically the select takes a normal to the selection as the Z-axis of any scaling, and we can then scale down in the Z direction, and that will flatten the door. As a final touch, we make all of the components of the windmill children of the main component, which is the circular wall and wooden structure on top. And finally, we just check that a plane is going to coincide with the bottom of the stairs and the bottom of the buttresses and so on.